Sense the truth. Sense the truth. In your life.
I mean, you know, I really don't think much about it, man. I think it's, you know, kind of corny. You know what I mean?
And Future's part of just in general to talk about.
Both.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To be honest, I mean, you know, it kind of is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly did he say? He was just kind of, he said that he listened to everything she does or something like that.
Yeah, well, he's chatty patty shit.
Yeah. Kind of corny, man.
Chatty patty shit. He said, she said, he didn't let me see I didn't meet the baby daddy before they met the child. Chatty patty shit.
I mean, well, the other thing that Future came out.
Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that. You know, with the drug situation. You know what I mean? He was pretty much came out and said that he didn't know that he influenced so many people. Do you have that in front of you? The rapper or something that he was influenced by Future's music.
I could definitely pull that up. Give me 1 second.
All right, no doubt. Everybody who's listening, go ahead and hit the like button. You tune into the Uncensored Truth podcast on the official podcast channel. Everybody go ahead and drop your area codes in the chat box real quick. I see my man D-Red, the blue collar scholar in the building, full of Southern charm. Go ahead and drop your area codes in here while SamAnt, you know, pulls it up. We're gonna talk about this, man, because what we can say about Future is he did an interview on one of these other stations and pretty much said that he stopped drinking lean, but he didn't feel like he needed to come out and tell people that he stopped, despite the fact that he, you know, pretty much influenced, I would say, hundreds of thousands of people to do this. Not that he forced them, but he did have an influence. SamAnt, I'll turn it over to you.
Got that up for you right now, brother. Last year, now this is courtesy of Rolling Stone magazine. Last year, he joined up with the then teenage Chicago rapper Juice WRLD for the mixtape called World on Drugs. While working on it, Juice revealed that listening to Future's music inspired him to try lean as a child. That cut Future deep. Excuse me 1 second. Okay, here we go. When he told me that, I was like, oh shit, what the fuck have I done? He says, it really bothered me. It bothered me a lot. More than I thought it would bother me when he told me that. I didn't think I'd care about that stuff. 4 years ago, I probably would have cared. I probably wouldn't have, cared if he told me, oh, that was good. You was drinking. Now it's like, oh shit. How many other sixth graders did I influence to drink lean?
I mean, you can sit up there and he can sit up there and act like he doesn't understand his influence, but these guys know, and these rappers and singers know that when they get their asses up there on the stage, they don't even got to sing their lyrics because people are singing their lyrics. We got these little kids and everybody who can attest, who has children, they're singing all these different words to these songs, whether they mute them out or not. It's having an influence on them. You got kids talking about, you know, eating the booties like groceries, all types of nutty shit that these people are saying, talking about drinking lean, popping perks. And then again, like I always say, once that these rappers start to popularize it and they make it, these children think that it's cool to do. And our community, why I always say it influences us most is because we don't have a lot of those role models, not all of the time, but we don't have those positive role models. So you actually got people looking up to these nutty ass rappers and following everything that they do. They want to wear what they wear. They want to say what they say. They want to take the type of drugs that they take. It just is what it is. What do you think about the liquor? When we talk about, you know, they made that popular, Dame Dash, Jay-Z, and more rappers before that, but they started, you know, putting liquor beside them and starting to sell the liquor, you know, beside them, beside their brand. It's the same thing with the drugs. It works the same exact way. If you got guys showing double cups all the time, you know what I mean, promoting it, people are wanting to do this. Oh, what they put in there? The Sprite. They get the promethazine.
The Jolly Rancher.
Yeah, the Jolly Rancher. And they making these drinks and they getting hooked on it. And we can go back. My man D-Red is in here. We can go back to DJ Screw and all them cats in Houston, you know, who really got it popping. But we talking about Future right now. He's influenced people. And I think that he should be held somewhat accountable, you know, for that. You know, and not just him. We could go down. There's been a lot of them.
Right. But you know what? The thing in particular about Future, and I'm not mistaken, I think it was last week that we talked about Andre 3000 kind of sneak throwing jabs. And we had a lot of people saying, oh, y'all didn't hear the whole interview. You didn't get the context.
Right.
Y'all didn't understand the context of what we were saying. Now, a lot of people also were saying, oh, you guys are hating on the youth. You looking old right now. You guys didn't understand the context of what we were saying either. This is what we were saying right here. It's his open just ignorance and just arrogance to the fact that, yeah, your music was affecting tons and tons of people, we rewind back to when we first started this and we had the conversation on the effects of lean and Future in particular, his music, because he was saying that it was noted that he wasn't even doing it, but he was still promoting it. And now he comes out and says he was afraid to even tell people he was not promoting lean because these 6th graders were buying my music and they were enjoying me saying lean in the song. Meanwhile, they're getting strung out on drugs and dying. Now, you asked the question about alcohol. Your Dame Dash is somebody that we admire. Jay-Z, somebody that we admire. They got to be held accountable too. Diddy,
absolutely,
they got to be held accountable because alcohol kills and destroys as well. And you mix that with the lean and you mix that with the partying and you promote it as being this is where you get when you get to the height of quote unquote fame. This is what you're supposed to do. And you got young boys and young women out here aspiring to be that. Is wild. And we really do got to check our music. It's funny because my mom hit me today bugging. She was like, do you know so-and-so? My son was listening to dude, he had a tattoo on his face. He had this, he had that. Son was listening to Triple X, listening to one of his songs, listening to Moonlight. I listened to it with my son a couple times driving home. I'm aware of everything that he was listening to. I had to tell my mom, hey, relax, blah, blah, blah. But I appreciate that on it because you never know what these kids are listening to. You never know what's in the lyrics and it's influencing them. So for you to be ignorant on that, come on, man, you deserve better than that.
What do you say to the people who say, look, man, okay, the parents should be there in the household. I don't care what these rappers say. It's up to the parents to be the ultimate influence and make sure their kids don't go and dabble into that lifestyle. And also to put on the back end of that, them saying, I'm not role models. What do you think about that aspect?
I'm glad you asked that question. That's a good question. I think that the parents need to have accountability for the child. They need to. You need to know what your child is listening to. You need to know what's going on with the social media. You got to be involved in your child's life because it's so different now than when it was when we even grew up 10 to 15 years ago. We didn't have the cell phone. It wasn't as open as it was. The freedom wasn't there. We didn't have access to the world on our fingertips at 10, 11 years old. Just wasn't happening. So you got to be responsible. You got to be monitored. That said, things are going to get to them no matter how much you're on them or not. Because they're exposed to the world when they go to school. They're exposed to the world when they go to different activities. And then it's a phone and a dial away when you might not be around shit. You could be in the bathroom. You can't always be on them. That being said, you got to school them correctly and make sure that you know and they know what's right and what's wrong. Because too often we get lazy when it comes to the phone. It's easy just to go, yo, just go watch the phone when I'm involved in my own shit or I might be involved in my own phone. Meanwhile, this child is getting programmed to do, walk, think, whatever they want. So yeah, it's the child's, it's the parent's responsibility, but it's also the responsibility to instill proper value in a kid for when they're not around.
Xanax. Let's talk about the Xanax and let's talk about some rappers now, even more recently. Would you safe to say that they have switched out promotion of lean perks and now switched over to promoting now Xanax? Case in point, Drake. He has a song where he's talking about I popped the Xan, had me out like a light, slept through the fight. Kids pick that up. Xanax, is one of the worst things that you can get addicted to. Some people would even say that it's worse than Percocets or anything else that you can get addicted to. What do you say about that? Now, rappers not even promoting Xans. You got the Boink, I think, gang, popping, like Skittles. Cats really just promoting this whole drug culture because it went all the way from guys just popularizing selling the drugs. Now it's cool to be a straight up drug dope fiend addict. What do you say about that? The Xanax part about that?
The interesting part about this whole drug epidemic situation, 10, 15 years ago, when all of this stuff really hit the scene, you remember ecstasy, Molly, you remember the perks, you remember the Xans. You remember all of this stuff was out at the same time. The lean, all of this stuff was out. But it wasn't until the music got a grab of it to where it really got popularized. And they really took their time. They popularized the Molly at first, and then it was the perks, and then we seen the lean, and now we diving into the Xannies. But it's all been out at the same time. They've all been sitting there digging into it. But we all know music influences the world. And when we hear the music and the vibration, it creates habit into our head, and that's what goes on. So when you're trying to sell lean at first, you're going to promote that and sell that. When you're trying to sell this at first, you're trying to do that. What am I saying? There may be an agenda or something behind this that is more cynical than meets the eye. Because why are you breaking it down into chapters? How all this shit come out, but y'all breaking it down into chapters to where now you sitting there picking up yo, why does it seem like now it seems they jumping off this bandwagon to jump on this when all this shit been out at the same time?
And it almost seems like it's a marketing plan. Like, all right, we start talking about it. We talk about this drug, and automatically now you can find it in the street.
Easy.
It's crazy. It's just like, okay, now people talking about, you know what I mean? Because when you in that scene or whatever, when you're growing up and people know people, so things are going to be accessible.
Right.
Whether it be somebody, somebody want to have fun, whether it be shrooms or whatever. Things are around. We all know how it is. We ain't got to get too deep in that. You can find what you want to find in this world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just it's ironic to me that with the promotion of this in the rap song is readily available, in the streets. Now it's the big thing is fentanyl, out there. And all these drugs that we're talking about are handed to people through pharmaceuticals as well. Do the pharmaceutical companies also, need to, take responsibility as well?
Nah, no doubt.
Definitely.
They got to. Mm-hmm. If you promoting your product and you out here and it's killing people, now we see fentanyl. Mm-hmm. And it's just a real thin line drawn when you go to people that consume it in one community and people that consume it in another, and one's deemed someone that needs help and the other's deemed a criminal.
Right.
That goes without saying as well, but it's really affecting everybody in every culture, because we're not just seeing the black children die from it. We're seeing the white children. Mac Miller, I think, and one of the other young rappers died from it. We see various other Hollywood celebrities trying to kill themselves or threatening to kill themselves from various drugs and overdoses and things like that. So it's affecting everybody right now. It's definitely an epidemic. And I'm glad we talked about it. Future needs to hold more responsibility, just to kind of bring it back to the overall premise of why we even brought it up. He has to assume more responsibility for his actions. I was never really an avid listener of Future to begin with, because I don't understand what the fuck he's talking about.
Right.
Don't want to hate on him though. If you out here and he's popular to a lot of people, make your money, do your thing. I'm not hating on you, but the message got to be better, bro.
Yeah, and that's I always say, if they use their influence for negative, it definitely could be used for positive. Definitely, these kids are trying to follow. They follow, LeBron as well. I was in the sneaker store earlier. These kids want to get the LeBrons. They look up to these different people. We looked up to certain people, whether it been Michael Jordan or certain people in our time. It was just natural. But watching them on there do amazing things on the screen, and then we get to see a little bit of their character more so when they're doing their press conferences and answering questions. So you think that this person is like this, so you start wanting to be like this person. So whatever they do, you kind of want to do. So they do hold a responsibility, whether they like it or not. It's a lot of kids listening, to their music out there. And
why wouldn't you want to have a responsibility? I mean, the little responsibility that we have sitting here giving narrative and perspective on what we think is going on in the world of hip hop and whatever, that makes a difference. And we assume responsibility very quickly. When we started seeing numbers go up, we didn't get big heads or get cocky. No, we assume more and more responsibility. Like, listen, we got to tighten this shit up. We got to be objective. Our personal opinions, as hard as it may be, not to put them in and bleed them into the content. We got to keep that out of it to give a raw perspective for the people, for them to be able to voice their opinions on it. And of course, we're humans. We make mistakes. There's no production team. There's no writers. We're doing all this shit ourselves.
Word.
But we try to stay as genuine as we can to that. And I mean, yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you tuned into the Uncensored Truth podcast with your brother, Old God and SamAnt. Going in tonight live on the Uncensored Truth podcast channel. Get used to